G'day everyone, Duckville here, welcome to another cast of StarCraft 2. We're going to be looking at some action. This is hot off the hard drives, I suppose it's not presses, it's hot off the hard drives here. This is actually from MLG Dallas, recently competing. We're a couple of Australian players, two of them right here. There were a whole bunch of them in total, but we'll have a quick look at these guys. Firstly, this was in the open bracket. They have had a pretty epic series apparently. This is my first view of these replays, and starting down at the bottom left-hand side of Cloud Kingdom is our very, very talented Zerg player from Australia. It is Team Immunity's Mafia. And he's going to be playing off against one of the very well-known Terran players in the Australian scene. Of course, he is hailing from Sydney in Australia. He's a very, very good Terran, sometimes referred to as the Calzone Terran for his layers of play. It is, of course, Team NvRossi. And there we go. Talking about latency, of course, both these players normally used to playing with a ping of, if you're playing on NA from Australia, you can get somewhere between 150 to 250, depending on how bad the actual connection you get is, or anything sort of around that sort of number. But now, of course, competing at MLG at the live event, where you're much closer to the servers over in the US, it is a lot better, as they can see. Still getting used to it, of course, where you can do a little bit more with micro. You can be a little bit more accurate with your clicking and your targeting of things, that kind of stuff. So I did speak to Mafia before he went over, and also Rossi. In fact, I spoke to both these players before they went over, just asking them how they felt about their chances at MLG. Obviously, both players, quietly confident, hoping to take down some names, and they have certainly done a great job of that. This actually led to these guys meeting up in the open bracket winners side in the round of 4, I believe it is. Where this game is taking place, and of course it is a best of 3 starting out here on Cloud Kingdom, and then you go to, I believe the winner picks the next map, so the loser picks the next map, so we'll see how that goes. Now, Rossi, of course, as many of you guys will know if you're from the C scene, is a player who loves to do just standard sort of bio styles, and we see him doing a lot of drops, which he's become extremely, extremely good at, and I am expecting to see that kind of thing here from him today. This map generally, some people like to say that it's favored towards Terran. I'm kind of a little bit, I don't know, I think it sort of depends on how you play. I think if you like to play a mech style, this can be a very good map because you can cover the third base very easily with some tanks across the ridge, tanks across the top here, and your Thors and that kind of thing. But to my knowledge, I've never, in all the replays I've seen of Rossi, I've never actually seen him play mech, so I highly doubt that'll be the case. Not saying that that means the map is going to be favored towards Mafia, but just something to note. And of course, Mafia, being a very, very heavy macro player, loves to get out all the drones. Of course, if you need to think of him in the likes of Rhett and who else have we got there? Of course, Hydra, when he's playing on a good day, will sometimes play a fantastic macro game, and hopefully we'll see something really good out of both these players, because they're certainly two very talented players, and obviously if they're competing in MLG and taking down some wins, they are certainly going to be some to be contended with. So of course the unfortunate part of this match is that it is in a way a kind of a team kill, both from effectively Team Australia, because they're both from down under, took the long journey over with both Team Immunity and a couple from NV as well. All the players that went over, we did see Mafia and Light from Team Immunity, and also T-Gun, and then there was also from Team NV was Rossi, Death, YunYJ, who else am I missing? I'm totally missing people because I'm just trying to think of it off the top of my head. What did I say? Rossi, Death, I'm missing someone, and YunYJ, and someone. Sorry, I'm just totally excited to watch this game. That's how out of control I am right now. Speaking of out of control, Rossi going very nice on the eco here, picking up a third command center very quickly, switching that over into an orbital command. He sends a couple of these Marines across to have a quick look at what's happening over here. Are there any hidden lings, or perhaps a hidden overlord? He may even catch this overlord. It's just floating across the top there. You can see it up in the corner, and I think Rossi might actually grab it, because with the Overlord just in the corner there, he's going to have no real point of escape, and this is a beautiful little tactic here. You do see a lot of the Korean Terrans doing this kind of strategy. You just send out a couple of these early Marines, and if you can catch that Overlord, that is a beautiful little win right at the start there. So great job by Rossi to take that Overlord out. Of course, it's not going to break the game, but it does put him in a nicer little spot, meaning that Mafia is going to have to switch across. And, you know, lo and behold, I talk about how I've never seen Rossi do a mech play, and what is he doing here? We have double armories. So I am assuming we are going to see some mech. There is factory number 2, factory number 3 as well now going down. So, wow, this is going to be learning experience for me watching Rossi play some mech. I don't know if he has done it in other games, but you know, just bear with me that I've never personally seen him do it. And wow, Rossi on the ball again, catches another Overlord just across to the left-hand side, doing his homework, checking out how Mafia sends his Overlords around the map. It does take down 2 Overlords straight off the bat, which is fantastic for him. Now pushing through the middle there as well. Mafia trying to get some of this creep spread up, but in fact losing 3 of those creep tumors. And now in fact this Queen, is she going to go down? I think she's just going to get caught. Yes, she does, bursting out into a ball of flame. There is one of the Queens, and now as we can see, of course, Rossi doing a good job with his economy there, sitting up at a grand total of 47 SCVs, now whacking down a couple of extra factories, very much in the style of how I've seen MKP do his mech a little bit like this. I know it's weird to say Marine King doing some mech, but this is the way I've seen him do it as well, picking up a very fast third orbital command and then throwing down up to 5, sometimes 6 factories right at the start. And Mafia's going to see this as this Overseer floats through, and he's going to say, whoa, you know, this is a little bit interesting. Alright, we're going to have to prepare for something a little bit different here from Rossi, but Mafia is going to have his own tech out. As we can see, the lair is done. The infestation pit is on the way, researching pathogen glands. Roach Warren also half done with Roach Speed as well. Along with that, we've also got the Carapace level 1 and the attacks level 2 for melee coming up for the Zerg at the moment. So Mafia doing a good job keeping up his macro as well. As we can see on the Harvesters tab, he's up to 69 drones already. We are at the 10-minute mark, so he's doing a fantastic job with that. He's now taking this 4th base as well. He's going to say, alright, if you're going to play a mech style, I'm going to take some more of the map and make sure that I get my economy all beefed up and ready to go, meaning that he will be able to commit a lot more forces to dealing with this very heavy firepower that Rossi is going to be able to pull out. Now, as we've mentioned, that with generally when you're playing against the mech, of course, you won't really see too many Zergs go for Mutalisks. Of course, you can grab a few of them right at the start to try and deny any sorts of pressure, but it looks as if the pressure is going to come anyway. Rossi just finding a weak spot in the defenses of Mafia, finds a whole bunch of drones going down, roasting them left, right, and center. He may even get inside the main to be able to catch some of them in there. These the Hellions do have 1-1, so they are doing quite a lot of damage there as well, and they get caught out by a fungal, and it looks as if he's not going to get too much more than what he already did get. A grand total of 9 drones were roasted during that barbecue down out the back of Rossi's house, and I'm sure he'll be, you know, reasonably happy with that. Of course, you want to try and maximize your kills with that kind of thing as much as you can, and he certainly did a very good job of getting some kills there. So Mafia, not perturbed by that at all, has finished up this 4th base in the bottom middle section here. He's also taking the one down the bottom right as well, so he's not afraid of any further Hellion attacks, but they are going to continue to come. No Spinecrawler defense here. Very interested to see that Mafia has not put up a single Spinecrawler here. You'd think maybe 1 or 2 just in this section, and wow, not the greatest positioning here for Mafia. Unfortunately, while his drones were burrowed, they still get caught out by the blue flame that was passing over them when they were firing at the Lings that came to defend. So Mafia losing a few more, and in fact more drones down the bottom side as well. Unfortunately, the Hellions are actually targeting down a Queen, so we're only going to take the total to 16, but that is certainly quite a lot of drone losses there for Mafia. And while this is all going on, Rossi picked up his 3rd base. You'll notice there is very little defense here, and that is because he's put so much pressure on his opponent. He said to him, you know, look, hey buddy, You've got to defend this fourth, you've got to defend your main as well, and the entry to the natural, all that kind of thing. What are you going to do to my third base? Not a single thing. So Rossi now preparing this big tank line. Of course, we've got a total of, how many is that? We've got 7 already, all sieged up and ready to go to defend this base here. He is doing a little bit of MVP style, probably going to switch this into a planetary fortress, I would assume, unless he's going to switch it over to perhaps into the orbital command, but normally what I like to see Terrans do on this map is you can actually just wall this off, chuck a couple supply depots down as well, switch that into a planetary, and this basically becomes a no-go zone, because you will have 1 or 2 tanks that will be able to fire across that range, and then that means that the Zerg is going to have no hope of getting through, and you turn this into your main entryway. And in fact, Rossi is going very hard on his macro here, picking up a 4th base. He's going to take that one. We got another command center being built at the side. Mafia doing his best Jaws impression, just floating through. Going to try and find if he can get any kills on these workers here, but at the moment he's got to deal with some other problems. The Hellions still poking around through the middle of the map here, trying to control the Zelnaga watchtower, but there is a bigger problem down at the southern side. It looks as if Rossi is going to try and push through here, try and take the 4th base down. Is he going to be able to do it? He's in a fantastic position. All these tanks up on the high ground, and 2-2 has finished for them, so they're going to be doing a lot of damage, of course, 60 damage to armored units, and of course that means structures as well. Mafia has got a bunch of roaches prepared. Infestors at the back. What is he going to be able to do with these? A couple of infested Terrans thrown down. Unfortunately, actually catching out one of the infestors, but here come the roaches. Infested Terrans thrown down to try and draw the fire of the tanks. The roaches, meanwhile, pushing their way through. As we can see, they are able to clean up most of that attack force, and Rossi is going to have to start from scratch yet again. As we can see, 132 supply for him at the moment. He's got a bunch of Hellions out on the map, and a few tanks still left at home, so he's not exactly completely undefended right now, but now some of these Hellions now poking through. There is some spine crawler defense finally, and it looks as if Mafia is going to lose some more drones here. As we can see, they're just rolling through there, and they're going to get quite a few kills. Meanwhile, there is a secondary counter attack from Mafia. He's now pushed up with these roaches. The roaches do have 2-1, so they are going to survive a couple of hits from the tanks, but they're not going to be worried about that at all, just barging their way through right into the face of the tanks. The tanks are doing quite a lot of damage, burrowing some of the roaches. No, he wasn't there. Oh, yes, he was. But there is Mafia just catching out quite a lot of these tanks and doing a good job of killing some of those SCVs as well. He's in fact almost evened up the worker kill tally, but the big story here is the fact that he has taken down all those tanks, and even this Thor is going to be next on the menu for those Hellions. Meanwhile, down at the bottom right side, we've got a couple of Hellions that are going to try and push through into the 3rd base here. There is a spine crawler and a queen ready to defend this base, but Rossi going to target down some of these drones, bring the worker count down a little bit further. Both these players doing a very nice style of trying to defend and also trying to do some attacks at the same time. As we can see, one of the roaches getting caught out by the scan. So these guys, it's a very interesting position here, because Rossi's got a couple of orbital commands. He's about to take, sort of retake that 4th base, I would assume, and he's sitting on 48 harvesters just at the moment. He's also got a couple of Vikings out, preparing for that inevitable Broodlord switch, which I'm sure will be coming very soon from Mafia. He's mined out the main. The Great Aspire is already done. As we can see, the Hive is all prepared. We're just sort of waiting for the Broodlords to come out at the moment. In fact, nothing has been picked up in the way of going towards that Broodlord tech, so I'm a little bit surprised at Mafia's decision just at the moment. I suppose he has suffered quite a few drone losses, of course, the total going up to 49 drone losses for Mafia at the moment. He's never going to be happy with that. Meanwhile, as we can see, Rossi just getting that tank count back up again, back inside his main base. We've got the double starport with reactor here, so he's going to be able to crank out those Vikings as soon as he needs them. You're going to see that he's going to want to keep an eye on where the Broodlords are once they start getting built. At the moment, he's not going to see anything at all, because realistically, all the gas is actually just going into Mafia's infestors, which is now up to a total of 9. He's got a couple more just on the way as well, going to bring that total to 12. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, some more Hellions just going to look down the bottom right-hand side of the map, going to see if they can get a couple of kills, but there are 3 spine crawlers all prepared. Not really going to be too many drone kills here, maybe 4 in total, 5 I think. That brings the worker kill tally to 53, which is certainly something to behold if you are a Zerg player. Of course, it's never what you want to see. Mafia is going to have to try and catch out some of these Vikings back on the right-hand side of the map. A couple of Lings chasing away those Hellions to try and keep them off his side of the map. But the mech army continuing to grow strong here for Rossi. Is trying to beef it all back up. He's sitting at a total of 10 tanks at the moment. They've got +3 on their weapons, is halfway done. A couple of Thors also about to be finished up, and more Vikings are also on the way. So I think Rossi trying to just really keep control of his sector of the map while trying to do some harassment to Mafia. Look at this base here. This has not been droned up at all. And how many drones does Mafia have? He's currently sitting at 62, maybe a little bit lower than he would normally want it to be, but he is getting all of his tech up. He's currently got the carapace for the flyers on the way. Still sitting in a very interesting mix of units here, keeping a lot of roaches in there, which of course do great damage against things like the Thors and the tanks if they can get in range. That's the big issue that that Mafia is facing at the moment. With this good spread of tanks, Rossi's going to be sitting in a great position to try and deny any of the infestors to get in there, and also all of the rest of the ground units. So just looking at the upgrades for Mafia, he's sitting on a 2-2 for those roaches at the moment. Of course, the Lings are also on 2-2 as well. There was another, I believe there was another attack just here for Mafia, so he's had to contend with just issues all over the map, and it's starting to become a little bit of a problem. As we can see, Rossi sitting up on a total of 183 supply, so he's certainly doing a great job with that. A couple of infestors now sneaking their way through the top section of the map, going to try and perhaps get into this base. There is a turret, sort of a little array of turrets that are protecting this section here, so I don't know how much this is going to do, but Mafia has decided it's going to do a lot, busting out the infested Terran eggs, throwing down a whole bunch of them. They're going to target down the bunker, some of the Marines that were left over, and of course the SCVs that were here as well. He may even be able to just target down these, at least one of the orbitals, and there he goes. So he is trying to get in there and do some damage to that, and does get it down. Of course, there are some backups here. Burrowing the infested Terrans, not often you get to see that. But it looks like Mafia is now trying to have his own way with his opponent's mineral line, as he once had done to him, with infested Terrans spewing out all over the 4th base of Rossi. He's going to have to try and make sure he keeps his cool and prepares for the attack. It does look like he's going to start going for it now. His +3 on his attack for those vehicles have finished. Corruptors are now being morphed in. What is this? Infested Terran still up the top side of the map, and Rossi splitting up the units, wants to make sure that he's not caught out by a big couple of fungals, which grab all of those units. The Thors, of course, keeping in formation. If they catch a whiff of these Corruptors, they'll be able to throw down the, the Javelin missiles and take out some of those Corruptors if they can catch them. But it looks as if he's just going to push through into the middle here. But meanwhile, there is the battle at the ramp of the natural base for Mafia. He's taking a lot of hits on those Corruptors, which means that he's going to have nowhere to get Broodlords out. The Infestors coming from the side, trying to throw down some Infested Terran eggs, but Rossi is looking very nice right now, keeping his supply up at 180 while suffering a little bit of a loss back at his 3rd base. But now with the tanks starting to roll in, the Thors at the front taking the damage and doing a lot of damage themselves, looks like Rossi may be in position to take this first game here against his old nemesis Mafia. And as we can see, Vikings already prepared just in case the threat of the Broodlords came along, but it is looking to be like it may be a little bit too much. Infested Terran eggs thrown all around, a beautiful spread of those from Mafia. A little bit worried about the big clump of units here for Rossi. He could be suffering a little bit there, and it looks as if he will actually fend it off. So Mafia, despite falling down quite far on his supply, he's now down to 100 supply. With the infestors, he's going to be able to fungal growth all of these Vikings down. If he can get rid of them, is he going to be able to catch them? No more infestors have energy. He's going to need to build that back up. But Rossi did lose this 3rd base, keep in mind. So he's just sitting on this one at the moment. There is, in fact, is that... No, I don't think he's going to be able to detect where those infestors are coming from. But Rossi is just a little bit too busy microing away with these Vikings, trying to take care of some of the random overlords that are scattered around the map. Now, just back on the, now that we've sort of stabilized for a minute, we've got the harvesters for Mafia sitting at 52. Obviously, not the most sort of extravagant sort of number that we would normally see out of this guy, who loves to get into the high 70s and of course 80s as well. But he is suffering a lot from the hands of these Blue Flame Hellions from Rossi. If you were going to give an MVP to a unit in the game, I think it may be these Hellions. They've caused so many issues for Mafia. He's had to defend them at all of his bases, had suffered so many drone losses. 100 drone kills here for Rossi. That is a ridiculous amount, and you have to consider that Rossi has suffered his own losses, of course, with 39 of his own SCVs going down to random attacks with some of the roaches and the lings, and of course the infested Terrans that are being thrown out from the infestors. And Mafia is just trying to get himself back into the game here. He obviously needs to get some more of his gas going, because he does need these very gas heavy infestors to come out. Also, we're still waiting to see if there is going to be any sort of big tech, but no, he's just getting 11 more infestors, so he's just going to try and outpower his opponent with these energy-based units. Of course, when you get to late game of any sort of StarCraft match, it's going to start depending on those energy-based units, but as we can see, Rossi's not having any of that. He's just going to say, alright buddy, I'm going to make a bunch of these Hellions and try and take you down with them. Infested Terrans waddling after the command center that was trying to float away like a bunch of penguins after some fish, and they are not going to actually get it. So the orbital command will survive for now, but at what cost? At what cost? Not really too much, I would say. Rossi still holding his own at the moment, and the base here, the third, if Rossi can retake this, perhaps get a turret up and make sure this is defended from any further attacks from these infestors, he'll be very happy about the position he's in. But have a look at the infestor count. There is a ridiculous number, and they get scanned. A beautiful scan from Rossi. Tanks, Thors are all going to town on the infestors. They have been whittled down to a total of 11. I'm sure there was something like 20 before, and now they've been taken out, but they are going to be able to get a fair amount of damage done on the rest of this little mech army here from Rossi that pushed down to the southern side of the map. Meanwhile, there is another little infestor group that's just sitting here waiting to go to town on that third base of Rossi again. But the Thors, here they are, doing a whole bunch of damage. 12 kills on this one, 11, 12, 13. These guys are going to definitely get a medal of some sort. But speaking of medals, back here, the medal army of the Orbital Command is probably going to go down this time. I think those infested Terrans are doing a great job there, but more attacks from Rossi. This game is absolutely insane. We've got stuff going on all over the map between these two players. Mafia burrowing some of those drones to try and get them out of harm's way. Meanwhile, he's still trying to microwave with these infestors. Does he have Neural Parasite? I don't think he does. If he did, that'd make this game even more interesting. But Rossi, what has he got right now? Let's look at the unit count. Of course, we are sitting on a total of 6 Thors at the moment, 2 Marines and 4 Hellions. That is around about it. That is actually not too much of an army here for Rossi. Meanwhile, for Mafia, he's got 14 infestors out on the map. There are a few lings just poking around here and there, but the interesting thing for him is that he only has 22 drones right now. He's just starting to start the drone count yet again. But as we can see, no 5th base across to the side. This base in the middle for Mafia is not really mining too much. In fact, 2 Marines somehow wandered their way down here. They got a golden ticket to just rush through. But it looks like Rossi is going to try and take down these infestors. Where is the scan? No scan at the moment. But Mafia does keep those alive. Nicely done by him. So I'm still just trying to figure out what the end game is here for Mafia. Is he just going to try and rely on the power of these infestors? It looks like he might be. His supply count slowly dwindling here down to 70, 69, getting lower and lower. The Thor's doing a great amount of damage, but also taking a lot themselves. A couple of them here in the Halloween pumpkin colors. We got a couple in orange, yellows, and then a red if your Halloween is a little bit crazy with the pumpkin. And now, as we can see, with the 3rd base gone, there is no way to get that extra gas coming in. So Rossi, while he does have a good bank, if he doesn't keep these trades efficient, is going to start lacking in that very soon. But actually, the big problem for him is the minerals. He's got nothing at the natural, nothing at the main. His 3rd base, of course, as we said before, is not mining at all. And now even this 4th is also under attack because there are infested Terrans sitting at the top of the ridge. These guys are not fun at all. So they're just going to sit there and chip away at those SCVs as they continue to attempt to mine. Rossi has decided it's go time. We need to get out there. We need to do some damage because Mafia is starting to re-establish his economy. As we can see, he's up to 36 drones now, so that's definitely not something to let go freely. And it looks as if the SCVs have been brought along for this one. A couple more Thors just on the way as well. There is a couple of tanks building, but he's just got to go now. He needs to make sure that his opponent does not get any free mining at all. And the Thors, of course, with their 2-3 are going to just pound away at this hatchery. Going to take it down almost instantly there. A couple of salvos from each of those Thors, and that hatchery is no more. Mafia trying to respond with these infestors. He's bringing some of them down. He's going to try and get perhaps to this base here, which has been spotted by a random overlord and is dropping down some creep. But is there going to be enough damage to fend off the Thors? There are so many of them here. I think with some good fungals he may be able to, but the big issue is can he get in range without losing them? Because if Mafia puts down the fungals and then the Thors survive, whether it be from a mule repairing them or one of these random SCVs that is strewn around the map, he will still be able to come back and fight back with the Thors. But here come the rest of the infestors. They are bringing in the infested Terran beach balls, dropping them down all over the place. And Rossi, is he going to be able to do this? He's trapped in. Some of the Thors with the infested Terrans around them are not able to maneuver their way out. The rest of them trying to escape, and he may escape with 3 of them. Is that going to be enough? Or 4 of them, I should say. Got to get my counting skills right, but he escapes with 4, and with a couple of tanks now out on the map, is Rossi going to be able to do anything here? The problem is the mineral count for him is just incredibly low right now. He's just not been able to mine anywhere. Mafia has just been denying the bases as best as he can, of course. That third never really got a good fun time going, so this is almost down to 4 Thors just rolling their way through the map, taking down buildings. The infestation pit goes down. It looks as if the Thors will probably be able to get through and take down the hive as well, but I'm still unsure of what's going to go on here. The miners from the southern right side are now going to have to long distance mine, as we can see. Mules doing their best work there as well. I'm still absolutely flabbergasted that both of these players are low on gas. You've got a Zerg who has spent, or I don't know, countless amounts of gas on infestors, but is still actually up on it at the moment, and a Terran who is going mech. The one surviving Thor, is he going to be able to take down the rest of this? I do not think so. He gets taken out. The drones can now get back to work. They obviously have to run a long way because almost all of the hatcheries have been destroyed. And Rossi, what has he got left? We've got some Hellions here. There are those 2 tanks down at the just up at the natural base as well, and here come the infestors. They're on the death march. They want to take this base down. They want to throw down some of these infested Terrans and then just get rid of this base. If they can take it out, this will probably be game here for Mafia, and Rossi will have to tap out. But it looks as if the Hellions have found their way into the natural base, just poking around, trying to get rid of some of these larvae here. Won't actually, of course, really achieve much in the short term, but in the long term, if Mafia actually has any, if he had any resources left, I suppose we'll say it from the bird's eye view, he would not be able to really reproduce any units too quickly or en masse. So it looks as if the infestors are still the one remaining card that Mafia has up his sleeve. And I'll tell you what, if you're Rossi, that's a little bit scary, considering that Mafia was a pro poker player for quite a while and won a whole bunch in a tourney in the Australia-New Zealand region. So this is a very scary situation. And now with a whole bunch of drones out, there is still a total of where's the I button? There it is. 17 drones out on the map. So Mafia is not, he's not really dead in his economy just yet. The issue is that it's such a long distance to mine from. And the fact that he has these infestors out, he's got a total of 9 infestors. That's quite a lot. And while he's trying to just take down this base, it looks as if the infested Terrans may be able to polish off this last remaining orbital command. Will that be it? I think it may be. Rossi is starting to suffer a little bit here. The planetary fortress still in motion, of course. There are 7 SCVs out on the map. No real way to get... in fact, no, there are no orbital commands left, so that means there is no mules left, no scans left. Rossi is not going to be able to try and find out where these infestors are. He's going to have to rely on a good sort of sight on the map. If he can see the little dust cloud, perhaps he will be able to do something about it by perhaps trying to splash onto one of his own Hellions or something along those lines. But for the moment, he's just going to catch a couple of the drones that were out on the map and some infested Terrans popping out. There are the drone roasting, but a Raven comes to the rescue. with the Raven that may be able to secure the victory here. Of course, we were talking about the energy-based units providing a way to win a game in the late stages, and with an auto turret, I tell you what, they do a lot of damage. It can also take a lot of damage. One muter, two muters have come out from Mafia. Is he going to be able to keep them alive? Two muters and a bunch of infestors. Is this going to be enough here for Mafia to secure the win? There are a couple of tanks and a couple of Hellions, and only two auto turrets are out, so Mafia is not going to really have to contend with too much anti-air defense very soon. A third Raven is coming across. In fact, that'll just be the number 2 Raven for the moment, considering that one of them was polished off by the infested Terrans, and now the infestors just maneuvering themselves to the side. Can see that his opponent is starting to move off to the side of the map where the 4th base usually is. This is 35 supply, 36 supply to 32. Infestors now coming in, throwing down the infested Terrans. The auto turrets falling back to where the auto turrets are. Rossi, beautiful play here from him. He's continuing to just try and keep his units in the beautiful spot that can actually give them line of sight on where those muters are. One turret coming down. Is a turret going to be able to hold off against these two muters? This is the fight to end all fights. Two of the two muters are actually getting very low. One of them here is on 24 HP, and that is not going to survive too long. So Rossi, he's stuck in a little bit of a rock between a hard place, but does catch out some of those drones. What's going on at the top side here? Rossi is mining. There are no sort of counter units here. A couple of Marines, interestingly. Oh no, they are Mafias. Whoa, I was going to say, that could be quite useful in fighting off these last remaining muters, but fighting off against them are a couple of auto turrets, and that could be enough for Rossi here. If he just needs to keep these Ravens alive. If he can keep the Ravens, this is pretty much going to be game here, and Mafia trying to do his best to hold up the Thor, and beautiful work from Rossi. I just kind of counted him out because it looked like the infestors were going to be all infestor and throw down at the infested Terrans and fungals and all that kind of thing, but Rossi able to pull it out with some clutch Ravens, and this was just game 1 between these two fantastic players from Australia. Stay tuned for game number 2. We'll be getting into that one in just a moment.